Marketing is about values.
Nike didn't call me and sell me this in a catalog. I bought this swoosh because it's ingrained in my soul.
When you have a product that really resonates with customers, the word of mouth grows like wildfire.
Welcome to the Marketing Max Show. Now, let's dive in.
All right, welcome back to the Marketing Max Show. You got Logan and Max here. After 1 week off, we're back in your feed, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us in your favorite podcast app. Today, we're going to be doing one of our segments we've been talking about for a while called CMO of. We're going to break down a current situation with Sonos. We're going to get to some mailbag questions. But before we do that, if you've been listening for a little bit and still aren't subscribed, it's time for you to take our 5-second bet. And that is basically, we're going to give you the next 5 seconds to subscribe to the show, hit subscribe on YouTube, hit follow on Apple, whatever platform you're on. And if by the end of this episode, you don't have at least one good takeaway, you get to go yell at Max. Just hit him up at Marketing Max on Twitter and let him know how terrible this episode was. So we'll count it down together. Max, you ready? All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you haven't subscribed, please do so now. You had 5 seconds. You're not going to get another 5. Logan, thanks as always for being here. Let's jump right in.
Awesome, man. So you and I were talking offline about the situation with Sonos. If you're not familiar with them, they're known for their speakers and that sort of consumer electronic stuff. They had a new CMO step in, had some plans. Those things didn't work out. For folks who aren't familiar with that, before we get into, hey, if you and I were CMO of Sonos, if that just job landed in our laps tomorrow, what would we do? Catch people up who didn't see this. It was covered by The Verge and some other tech outlets first.
Yeah, well, Sonos is kind of that weird middle ground where it's like they're a tech company, but they're not software. And so most of the time, like you said, they were covered in The Verge. Most of the time, The Verge is covering Meta, Facebook, Google, like all the big software. And we think of tech as those kind of companies. I've always loved Sonos because they kind of are the ugly stepsister of a lot of those tech companies that people still love and people still talk about a lot. I've been a big fan of Sonos for a long time. When I started making a couple dollars on Wall Street when I was living in New York City, I bought, it was like a huge purchase for me. It was like $750 for their Sonos soundbar. And I went to a really nice apartment in the city, and it was an absolute amazing sound experience just listening to the music. I'm a big music guy. If you know me, I love EDM. I love all kinds of music. I go to Coachella every year and have for the last like 10 years and a bunch of other music festivals. And I used to play drums and everything. But love Sonos products because, like I said, kind of the ugly stepsister of all those tech companies. Really like the only wearable company that gets talked about and that's like actively purchased among, I don't know, my friend group and a lot of us millennials that's not an Apple or a Samsung or a Vizio TV or whatever, or Google Pixel or anything. But yeah, they've been struggling for a little while. They've been publicly traded for a long time, and they just couldn't figure out how to market themselves properly, particularly because they're a one-time product. There's no subscription revenue, right? At least when you buy a car, sure, it's you're paying one time for a car, but there's maintenance and there's insurance and there's financing. There's ways for them to make money for you on the long tail. The only way for them to make money on the long tail is just giving you a bunch of stuff or having you buy a bunch of different speakers. So their new CMO came in. I don't know exactly when they came in, but they came in and their big idea was to launch a brand new app. They were going to launch this new Sonos app. And so if you're not familiar, the Sonos app that I use almost every day, basically it can integrate with Spotify or Apple Music, and it has some like radio stations plugged in, and that's what you use to control your whole system. So now I have the soundbar, but I also have smaller speakers in like our master bedroom, in my office, out here in the garage, or groffice as I call it. So yeah, they launched this new app, and it was a complete flop. The UI, so hard to use, super buggy, doesn't really work compatibly with the old Sonos speakers. And part of the brilliance of Sonos is not just the sound quality, but they last a very long time. So the app was a complete flop, and they fired their CMO. That's the long story. of who they are and why I like them. But yeah, they fired their CMO, and in my mind, it's always been pretty obvious what Sonos needs to do to
What's
increase
top of your list there, man?
yeah, number one, you got to increase LTV, right? You got to make the product more sticky. And the best way to do that is, I think, for them to buy Tidal. They need to buy Tidal because Sonos's whole thing is really high quality music, right? Really high quality sound. And Tidal's whole thing is really high quality audio files. And so you kind of lost on Tidal if you use Tidal on like regular AirPods, right? So if I was to purchase a new Sonos speaker or a full system, and I got a year's worth or 6 months worth of free, what I would relabel Tidal as Sonos Plus, right? That would be so much more compelling. And I would also appreciate the product more. And then I would tell more of my friends that they need to download it and they need to buy the speaker, because the experience to me will be better. And it's a great lesson in marketing, because so many people are like, oh, we need to get a new ad live. We need to come up with a new tagline. We need to get a new cold email live, or as we've talked about, as we were just talking about on before we hit record. We need to get the S2 live because the S2 is working and Marketing Max is talking about it everywhere, right? But so much of marketing is also to do with the actual product itself and the offer that you make to your customers. Everyone thinks about getting new customers in, but it's also remarketing to existing customers, upselling existing customers. It's a lot easier to sell people who have already purchased your product and who like it than it is to get new people in the door, right? Two in the hand is worth one in the bush, or one in the hand is worth two in the bush, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. I think they need to buy Tidal, or at least come out with their own Apple Music, Spotify competitor, and make the app a lot better.
Yeah. Well, I like that combo for two reasons. It's leaning into what their current customer base already likes, right? Which is high quality sound, right? And so it's doubling down, like you said, not trying to find new people to convince, hey, we can solve this problem for you, or we can give you this benefit. It's how can we take this existing customer base and give them more of the benefit? And then the second thing that it does is increases that LTV. I think, just calling it Sonos Plus makes sense. Everybody's subscription, tiers now are plus. We've got Hulu Plus, we've got ESPN Plus, we've got Disney Plus. Like, there's some recognition to that model, right? And so you won't have to explain that a lot to people, right? I think that's the other thing baked into that there. My next thought, going into kind of the checklist of if we were CMO of Sonos, would be something around UGC. So doing some user-generated content, either with some of your super fans or specific influencers, maybe in the music space. Maybe talking through, if the app was such a cluster before, you have kind of an unboxing videos of the new app, of using it, of putting the speakers everywhere, playing that sort of stuff. What are your thoughts on that play? Was that in your list or way out of left field coming from my end today?
Not in my list, but not out of left field. I'm a really big fan of that. It reminds me a lot of what Apple's done way back in the day and all the way to now, with really great visual commercials that signal, an audio experience, if you will. Bose commercials used to be really, really, really good. I don't even know if Sonos is running ads. I can pull that up in 2 seconds here. I remember seeing an ad for them a long time ago when I was actually shopping for a new mini speaker on their website. Okay. I think I got retargeted with like the most basic, boring, simple ad on planet Earth that was like, buy two, get one free, like super simple.
Picture of a couple speakers, buy two, get one free. Yeah.
I'm pulling up the ad here. It's literally a picture of their new headphones, and it says XOXO with $100 off. I guess it's like a Valentine's Day thing. Like, doesn't tell me anything about why I should use Sonos speakers over anyone else, and it doesn't make me feel some type of way. I think, to your point, what Apple and Bose has done really well with their advertising has been emotion-based advertising, right? The feeling of listening to really good sound, the feeling of really listening to really good music. One of the ways that you can certainly accomplish that in what I'd call the modern age today, 2025, would be UGC content, partnering with up-and-coming musicians, using the app, listening to the Sonos headphones in the studio, or just on a freaking plane. Like, got to show more emotion.
Yeah. And I think they've got an opportunity here because if it really is the audiophiles that are the primary customer base, not just anyone who wants headphones, right? That ad that you talked about, and we didn't pull it up on screen, but I think all of us, pretty simple, pretty basic ad, as you said, we can all picture that.
Yeah.
That spoke not at all to the audiophile, right? It just spoke to anyone and everyone who could buy headphones, right? And some of those folks just want the super cheapest headphones, or they have an affinity towards their AirPods for a different reason other than audio quality, maybe convenience, that sort of stuff. And so they're not really speaking to a specific problem other than, hey, you need some headphones, right? Which is, it leaves a lot to be desired. What else is on your list of stuff for Sonos, man?
I think to your point about UGC, they need to do more advertising. Like, I don't see them anywhere. And I just looked up their Facebook ads. I pulled up their Google ads as well. Like, they're just not anywhere. And when I was growing up, I saw Bose commercials everywhere. And I wanted Bose for Hanukkah. Like, that was like, I want, because I was going on a trip and they had noise canceling headphones. Like, I wanted that. So I think just like marketing, as I've always said, is getting people's attention and turning that into dollars. If you're not going to go viral, you need to pay for attention, right? So spending more money, I think, is probably the right way to do that. But spending more money with UGC, spending more money with emotion-based content, emotion-based advertising. That's not buy $100, get $100 off. Or they have this other tagline here. It's like all around beautiful sound. Like that, that's the tagline in the creative. I'm looking at it right now, and it's like a picture of a big speaker. Like that doesn't do anything for me.
I mean, the first thing, just to improve that, even if you stick with that tagline, right, would be to picture someone like yourself sitting in between all these speakers around in your, what'd you call it? Your office garage? Your
office.
Graphics, all of it. Max sitting in his graphics, working away, but surrounded by beautiful sound. Like, that's getting a little closer. It doesn't really speak to the problem. It doesn't really make people feel, felt. If you missed our episode from 2 weeks ago, after you check this one out and you subscribe, check out the 7 Facebook ad frameworks that we broke down 2 weeks ago here on the show. We talked about this feel, felt, found, and that was one of the most powerful ones. I've been talking about that for the last week or so with some other marketers, and they're just like, it's so simple, but yet so effective. And it's kind of raising its head again here.
Yeah. I mean, I think particularly when it comes to consumer, whether it's an app, whether it's a physical product, whatever it is, like, emotion is everything. It's so much easier to, I hate to use the word, but like exploit the emotion or tap into the emotion with consumer products than it is with B2B products, right? B2B people just want to know, is this going to save me time? Is this going to save me money? Is this going to solve my biggest issue, right? And I've been even trying to go back to that list of 7 Facebook ad frameworks to try to figure out, okay, when I start launching ads for my new funnel, what is the tagline I'm going to use? Is it going to be more emotion based? Is it going to be more, hey, do you feel this way? And I love the idea of taking things from other disciplines, other niches, and applying it to yours. But in the case of Sonos, they obviously need a better app, but they need a reason to choose Sonos. And it's something I talk about a lot in B2B. I've done a lot of coaching programs and courses over the last few years. I've led them. And one of the things I talk about a lot is, like, you just need to give people a reason to choose you over everyone else. Most people in B2B are in a very competitive market. They think, oh, no one is in my niche. I have no competitors. I'm so great. But in reality, everyone is offering the same thing that you're offering. You might have better case studies, you might have a better team, but like, unless you have some super proprietary tech, no one is doing anything insanely different.
Which, even if you do have that, the window of having that gets closed real quick these days, right?
Fact. So you need to give people a reason to choose you. And I always reference, and I'll probably reference this a lot on the pod, and if I haven't before, but like, I always reference that famous scene from Mad Men, It's Toasted, right? Every cigarette brand is basically selling the same thing. We have to give them a reason to choose Lucky Strike tobacco. Why? Because it's toasted. And then one of the people on the Lucky Strike team says, but everyone's cigarette is toasted. And it's like, no. Everyone in that day and age was saying our cigarettes don't kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone else's cigarettes doesn't kill you. Ours is toasted. And I think Sonos needs its toasted moment. They need the reason to choose Sonos. And it could be a little bit more of a simple, hey, high quality audio from a speaker, high quality file pushing into that speaker via Tidal or whatever Tidal competitor they want to come up with or whatever, right?
Yep.
And you get 6 months free, like Apple did when you bought the new iPhone when they launched Apple Plus,
Yep.
right? You get 6 months free. Not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it could also be something more meaningful or a little bit just deeper, not necessarily meaningful in terms of the wallet, saving you money and you know, save money on a Spotify cost with higher quality music or whatever. But it could be something a little bit more powerful just with the words, like it's toasted, whatever that is for Sonos. Like,
Yeah.
you know, 6 layers of sound. Like I'm immediately like, oh, that's cool.
Wait,
Like,
what?
I'd love
Yeah,
to experience-
create some intrigue, right? Just because everyone's doing it doesn't mean everybody's talking about it, right? One of the things we talk about at our agency at Business Builders in this story brand framework that we take people through is that the sad reality is people don't buy the best products and services. They buy the ones that are communicated most clearly. Right. And so if you're saying the thing that no one else is saying, even if you think like, sometimes it's the curse of knowledge. We think like, oh, this is just industry standard. It's like, well, what is the point? That it doesn't matter if you know it, if your competitors know it, what people aren't talking about that will resonate, right? Like I could talk all day long about, hey, there's this story brand framework that helps you, you know, tell a better story in all of your marketing, all of this. And I could kind of explain that and all of those sorts of things. But the moment I tell to a prospect of our agency, hey, we implemented this framework on our homepage and we doubled our inbound qualified leads month over month. They're like, oh, right. Now, are we the only ones who have used this framework to double our leads?
Nope.
Probably not. Right. But the moment I say that, I actually have their attention because I'm speaking to what they want and the emotion of, crap, I don't have enough leads, right? Sometimes B2B can be emotional. When you don't have enough leads and you might get fired, you can speak to some emotion there. So anyway.
I absolutely love that. Whoever's clipping up this episode, Anand or Aaron or Jessica, whoever on my team's clipping up this episode, you need to give Logan that line, that clip, because that was so good. I'm going to totally butcher it, but it was like people don't buy the best product. They buy the product that's communicated the most clearly. Did I get that even close to right?
Oh, you said it more succinctly than me, man. That's why we need each other as co-hosts here.
I'm running on 0 sleep. As Logan mentioned, we took a week off. My wife had our first child last week. She came 6 weeks early. She's totally healthy. If you're on YouTube, you can see I got my new dad gang hat on. But yeah, I'm running on no sleep. So the fact that you think I said that more succinctly is beautiful. Totally beautiful to me. But that is so true. And like for everyone listening, the example that Logan gave, I think is so spot on, right? If someone said, give me one reason why I should choose to work with you guys, do you think they're going to choose you based on the reason of, I can help you use this framework to tell a better story that will improve your marketing? Like that, if that's the answer to the question, give me one reason to choose you. What would that be? And that was the answer. Or if Logan's answer was, we use this exact same strategy to 2x our inbound lead volume in the first 30 days, and we've helped 20 other clients do the same thing. Like
that is a bit different, right? It's like, I don't even know what else to say. We got our first awkward silence of the show because I'm just like, yes, because I caught myself doing exactly this of like talking about, hey, there's this proven framework and we'll teach you and da. Now, after, you know, we lead with that second version that you said of like, we doubled our inbound lead volume and we helped plenty of clients do that. The next question is like, well, how did you do that? Well, tell me more. Okay, well, it's based on this framework and here are the parts of it and here's why it works and that sort of stuff, right? But as I learned in journalism school, don't bury the freaking lead, right? The 2xing your lead volume, that is the lead. And if we just kind of tell things chronologically of like, well, we're at 25 years in business, we're a marketing agency, we work with these and we found this framework and this helped. And oh, by the way, we doubled our leads over here. And they're like, wait, what? What was that part, right? we've got to lead with the most relevant, the most impactful, the emotional hook, right? And think about it like in journalism, another diagram that's always in my mind is the inverted pyramid, right? You lead with the most relevant, the most urgent, that sort of stuff, and then you kind of go down to, oh, and this is when it was and where it was and the details and how you take the next steps and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, I think when you said earlier, intriguing,
Mhm.
right? I came up with this tagline totally off the cuff for Sonos: 6 layers of sound,
Mhm.
right? And we said, oh, that's intriguing. I want to know more, right?
Right.
When you lead with the lead, as you called it, journalism school, right? When you lead with the juiciest carrot, as I like to call it, the thing that your clients or customers or audience or app downloads or users or whoever want most, then they start asking questions. Then they sit up a little bit, right? Then they're like, oh. And what I did at my agency, if you've heard me talk about this one too many times, tell me to shut up, whether it's you, Logan, or someone listening, feel free to DM me. But at my old Facebook ad agency I had before I sold it, I recognized my target audience were startup e-com brands that didn't have a very big budget. And we had an average 4.2x return on ad spend for all of our clients, regardless of their niche, regardless on ad spend. And so I realized if I communicate that in a very simple way that a third grader could understand, I help companies make $4 for every dollar they spend on digital ads. People immediately are like, how is that possible? And where's the proof? So I created a very, very, very simple website that I'm actually going to be re-bringing back to the Marketing Max brand soon.
Nice.
I created a very simple website where the moment you land on the website, there's no scrolling up and down. It's just a big
Mhm.
text. We help companies make $4 for every dollar they spend on digital ads. And then at the bottom, there were 3 links: how, proof, and get started. If you clicked how, I walked through step-by-step how we do it. If you click proof, there were dozens and dozens and dozens of testimonials and case studies and screenshots and everything about proving that we averaged a 4x ROI.
Yep.
And then get started. Once you're ready, if that's enough, get started here, book your call.
Yep.
That's all you need. That's literally it. And it was so refreshing. People get on the phone like, your website's amazing. And I would immediately say, if you think my website is good, imagine what I can do for you.
That's a great follow-up line, right? You got to deliver that great hook, but then when you follow it up with, just another, jab perfectly like that, then it just works so freaking well, man. Well, this has been awesome. I really am glad we got to the CMO of segment. If you've been listening to this, and you like this CMO of, where Max and I take something from the news and, hey, it doesn't have to be someone where the CMO just left or just started or something like that, but a company that you're watching, and you want us to kind of break it down, or your own, like, let us know. Make sure that you're signing up for the newsletter at growthdaily.com, and then you can respond there. Send us your mailbag questions, and we can answer those questions, which we didn't get to today, but we're gonna make sure we lead with that next week. We got some interesting ones around nonprofit marketing. Some of you are maybe in that space. That could be interesting. Max, anything for everybody before we let everybody go today?
Hit subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. 2 things. Make sure you're subscribed. Go to growthdaily.com, get on the newsletter. And if you want to see the course that we built on this StoryBrand framework that helped us double our inbound qualified leads, go to storybrandcourse.com. And you'll also see an S2 in action based on Max's framework. We were just talking before we hit record. Like,
Love that.
I'm seeing like 90% conversion rate from landing page to S2, about 10% meeting booking rate. I am a big fan of this S2 model. And if you didn't see that before, check out our previous episode. But all of that being said, make sure that you are subscribed, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Max show. It takes me and my team hours to produce it every single week, but it only takes you 15 seconds to hit that share button and text it to a friend, drop it in a Slack group, or share it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any of your favorite social platforms. I appreciate you taking the time to check out my content. Have an awesome day.